Audio Jungle.
(1996). One great game that remains in the history of Japanese games was born. Sakura Wars. At that time, Sega, which was in a fierce battle for share with Sony PlayStation, convened a number of famous creators to create this game. As soon as it was introduced to the Sega Saturn lineup, it quickly became a big hit and became a powerful weapon that could compete with Sony. At that time, Girls' Game was very popular in the Japanese game market. Which of Sega and Sony will win in this field, which is said to have started from Tokimeki Memorial? It was an important factor fortune-telling that. Meanwhile, finally a Girls' Game for Sega is born. The news had a big impact not only on Sega users but also on PlayStation users and even Nintendo users. Top-notch creators such as Oji Hiroi, Satoru Akahori, Kohei Tanaka, Kazuki Fujishima, and Hidenori Matsubara gathered. The public expectation for the game Sakura Wars was very high, and there was a long line at the game shop on the release date. As if to support this, the launch of Sakura Wars was congratulated not only in Japan but also by superstars around the world. F1 driver Ayrton Senna, and rival Alain Prost, who had secretly obtained information from Sega's president Iri Majiri, talk about the excitement at this time.
First of all, I'm very happy I won the championship last year for Honda, the last season with the turbo engines. And this year with the normally aspirated engines, Honda has completed 50 wins. It's an incredible achievement considering the number of races that Honda have been involved in. And it's an honor for me to be part of such a successful era in Honda and having established the 50 win.
Oui, de toute façon, c'est un... moi j'ai fait presque toute ma carrière, pas toute, mais en tout cas les 10 dernières années de Formule 1 avec lui, et en étant adversaire sur la piste, sa disparition a été quelque chose de durement ressenti par tout le monde, et en 3 mois, c'est vrai que pratiquement presque tous les jours, je veux dire, on pense encore à ce qui s'est passé.
In the first place, Japanese games are very popular in the United States. Basketball legend Michael Jordan is looking forward to playing Sega Saturn and Sakura Wars from Japan. He was informed that he played with his best friend Magic Johnson without sleeping despite the match the next day.
It's been a good year. It's been a long year. I mean, since I've been back, it's been a 15-month dedication to trying to get back on top. I mean, we had a little setback last year when I first came back, but it just only enabled me to work hard in the summer and be more focused about that dream about getting back on top.
In Sakura Wars, the first and second works are Sega Saturn. The third and fourth works are Dreamcast. And the long-awaited fifth work was released on PlayStation 2. However, even though the PlayStation 2, which was the most popular in the world, is used as the platform, the sales of Sakura Wars 5 will be the lowest ever. There are various reasons, so I won't touch on it here, but the failure of the numbering title Sakura Wars 5 casts a dark shadow on the entire content of Sakura Wars. Sega had planned to develop various products under the title of Sakura Wars World project, but most of them were forced to cancel. In March 2008, the Nintendo DS software Sakura Wars Kimiaru Gatami was released. However, the number of sales was less than 50,000, which was a catastrophic defeat.
I know many of you thought that I would be retiring today and announcing my retirement. But if I was ever going to announce my retirement, it would probably not be in a downtown Los Angeles hotel with this fairly ugly carpet.
Despite being the first work in history to have the 3 capitals Kagakiden, this low sales shocked Sega and made a decision. August 2008. The final performance of New York Hoshigumi Last Show was held at the Galaxy Theater. What was announced there? It was the end of Sakura Wars as content. It was clear to everyone that the devastating defeat on the Nintendo DS would have made Sega make this decision.
Well, I wanted to work with Doug, and I felt that with this kind of material, we really, it offered a unique cinematic journey for an audience. It had the potential for some really great characters, very unique action, very unique love story, and that's why I wanted to do that. I love this concept of the reset.
At this time, the spectators who visited the final song show did not try to leave the venue even after the stage was over, and took action to appeal for the survival of Sakura Wars. Those who shed tears, those who sing Jekitai, those who raise angry voices. Seen from the side, this may have even been called a riot. However, in reality, they were extremely gentlemen and wanted discussion with the management side of Sakura Wars. Kohei Tanaka, a music director who received a request from the director, stood on the stage in a hurry. "Thank you very much. I am happy to be involved with Sakura, who is so loved." And involuntarily he said, "But don't worry, everyone can't go home like this. I will do something about it, so please go home today." At that moment, the people who remained at the venue replied, "Hi. Hi. Was the first time I was born." Kohei Tanaka remembered this time and said so. However, what Kohei Tanaka said at this time was not just a makeshift word, but it will be proved later that it was an unmistakable truth. In fact, when Kohei Tanaka saw that the fans had left the venue, he went to the people involved in Sakura Wars in the waiting room with his feet and started activities for the survival of Sakura Wars. Time has passed and 2016. At the Sega Fest general election held in the milestone year, just 20 years after the release of Sakura Wars, the results of the work section and the revival expectations section were announced. The game that was mentioned there is Sakura Wars. What's more, it's a feat of being number one in two categories, the work category and the revival expectation category. Until now, even though the name was often mentioned at the planning meetings, it was difficult to pass the plan to revive the Sakura Wars. However, the Sakura Wars have survived with the help of Kohei Tanaka, Chisa Yokoyama, Dandy Dan, Sega's nameless staff, and people who love Sakura. The thread of Sakura Wars, which has been connected with a thin but firm strength by countless steady efforts by many human beings. Sega is ready. It's time to raise the signal of a counterattack. April 2019. Sega's new game New Sakura Wars trailer released. It will be released in December 2019. This news ran all over the world in an instant. People in Japan, or even around the world, cheered on this big news. The voice of joy was overflowing.
Well, for me, it was hard a little bit. Was a little bit disappointed the way it ended, but with me, everything happened for a reason, so I have to respect that. I'm relaxed now. I got treatment for my hamstrings. It's gonna take 1 month to get better. So right now, I'm just trying to relax, do a few sponsorship tours, and.
Bueno, la impresión que tengo de Japón es muy buena. Para mí, de los sitios en Asia más bonitos, en mi opinión. He tenido oportunidad de jugar en 2008 por Manchester, ganamos el trofeo, pero yo he ido ahí 2 veces más para hacer anuncios, así que yo conozco muy bien y es un sitio que me gusta mucho.
I want to say thank you to the media, the different media outlets, to all the people in Japan, the fans, you guys. It's all about entertainment. I went out there and I entertained. Tension, he's a great champion, a young, hungry lion. I had more experience.
However, as the game content and world settings of the new Sakura Wars became clear, people began to hear voices of anxiety. It was the same with action battles, but what made people most worried was, isn't the former characters appearing in the new Sakura Wars?
Sí que no esperábamos y no queríamos terminarla de esta manera, pero marca un poco cómo fue todo el año, ¿no? Un equipo muy irregular, muy débil, que le ganan por intensidad, que le ganan por ganas, que nos crean muy fácil y no hacen gol. Durante el año fuimos muy irregulares, perdimos.
Yes, I enjoyed it because it was a completely different culture, and I've worked with people who were extremely respectful, in good conditions to do my job, you know, and it was at the beginning of an era for Japan because they just had created professional football 3 years before.
However, their wishes were empty, and the members of the conventional Hanatsuden did not appear in the new Sakura Wars. Although it appeared in the form of bromide, only Sakura Shinguji actually moved and talked. Moreover, it only appeared a little in the final episode. As a result, the new Sakura Wars had sales of only 180,000. In today's world of smartphone games, social games, and PC games, this sales is not a bad number. However, even under the same conditions, Final Fantasy and others continue to record sales of around 1 million. Did it sell? Did it not sell? It is not the fans who decide it, but Sega himself. It's unclear what kind of conclusion Sega made, but Mr. Nagoshi, who was in charge, left a meaningful statement saying, "I wanted it to sell a little more." After that, Sega announced the smartphone game Sakura Revolution betting on company luck, but it was unfortunate that the service ended only 7 months after the service started. This is due to the low technological capabilities of the development company Delightworks, but it is not hard to imagine that this failure was a factor that hindered the development of the sequel New Sakura Wars 2. Will the new Sakura Wars 2 be released? People's attention has shifted there.
Bueno, un punto nos dejaba como primeros. Hemos intentado hacer, como creo que hemos hecho, un partido serio delante de un equipo difícil, con muy buenos jugadores, y al final el trabajo que hemos hecho, pues cumplimos el objetivo de ser primeros, y eso es lo que nos deja felices.
However, some people have doubts about Sakura Wars 2. This is a problem that the new Sakura Wars had before the release of the new Sakura Wars 2. There was a problem that the new Sakura Wars did not let the conventional characters appear, but there is an opinion that there is a problem in the story in the first place even if it is excluded.
I had a pretty hard fight with Chuck Liddell, but I had a good game plan.
Até por ser com o Sakuraba, ele tava com a luta, entre aspas, dominada, o cara já tava com a cara feia, não precisava fazer aquilo dali, entendeu?
This shocking scene, later referred to as the Shanghai Lynch incident, is still controversial among fans.
Svoju moć ću posvetiti. To predstavlja sve moje treninge, svu moju krv i cijelu moju mladost. Posvećeno treningu. Jednom riječju, zato je za mene život, moj život. Kao što sam ja sam još jače, svoju moć ću posvetiti. Da 28 bude kraj mene, ali to je nemoguće. Dobio sve što imam da je on živ i da 28 bude kraj mene, ali to je nemoguće. To predstavlja sve moje treninge, svu moju krv i cijelu moju mladost. Posvećeno treningu. Jednom riječju, zato je za mene život, moj život. Kao što ja sam još jače zagrizao u treniranje i još više sam se posvetio sportu. A to se i vidi po mojim rezultatima.
Perhaps because of this shock, Mirko was defeated by Federer. And Silva and Jackson will then bet their pride on the ring.
This will not be the last pandemic. History teaches us that outbreaks and pandemics are a fact of life.
2022, Currently, the situation surrounding Sakura Wars is extremely severe. 2021 last year, the 25th anniversary of the birth of Sakura Wars. At the Tokyo Game Show held in September, we couldn't finally hear the information about the long-awaited new Sakura Wars 2. However, there are people who never give up. Let's conclude by listening to those people's opinions at the end.
Biggest factor, I think, was the start, because Himalaya is a tricky track to pass. So that was very important, but then, I mean, there are still so many changing conditions that it was very important to just keep the car on track. But of course, when you're on the lead, that makes it a bit easier. You can just control your pace. So I would say that was definitely the main factor to it, yeah.
Muito feliz por tudo que aconteceu hoje, pela partida, não só minha, mas como da equipe. A gente sempre vem falando que a nossa equipe vem crescendo no conjunto e as individualidades vai aparecer no momento certo, como apareceu hoje. E fico, não, nada preocupante não, só foi uma paulistinha que também nas costas, mas tá tudo certo. O jogo contra o México, você acha?
Ideal day, be able to know that I put out hard on each and every rep, and I was focused for each and every rep. That's fun. I'm always trying to get faster, trying to get stronger and faster. I think that's what all athletes try and do. Now, at 35 years old, it's different now than it used to be.
Folks, the people of this nation have spoken. They've delivered us a clear victory, a convincing victory, a victory for we the people. We've won with the most votes ever cast on a presidential ticket in the history of the nation. 74 million. What I must admit has surprised me. Tonight, we're seeing all over this nation, all cities and all parts of the country, indeed across the world, an outpouring of joy, of hope, renewed faith in tomorrow. I pledge to be a president who seeks not to divide, but unify, who doesn't see red states and blue states, only sees the United States. I sought this office to restore the soul of America, to rebuild the backbone of this nation, the middle class, and to make America respected around the world again. To all those of you who volunteered and worked the polls in the middle of this pandemic, local elected officials, you deserve a special thanks from the entire nation. I'm proud of the coalition we put together, the broadest and most diverse coalition in history. Democrats, Republicans, and especially those moments where this campaign was at its lowest ebb, the African American community stood up again for me.